So for a while now, I've wanted to bring you all along with me as I'm going for a walk in the woods, just to kind of share with you some of my tips, tricks, and techniques for when I'm shooting, just kind of walking around, taking shots of things that I think look pretty. I'm going to keep it really specific and in an effort to keep this fairly short today. I found this area where we have a lot of baby ferns that are just coming up. And baby ferns are called fiddleheads, or when they're curled like a little fiddle that you play. And they're very cute, very pretty, and they're fuzzy, and they make great photo subjects. So I'm going to take some pictures and just kind of talk through what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and some general tips. But before we get to that, let's say my purpose for coming out was to make this video and show you all my working. If my purpose had been the absolute best pictures, I wouldn't be shooting it now with this bright of light. I would have come out either very early morning or after late evening, or waited for a cloudy day. It's very bright, very sunny right now, and this kind of light is just kind of harsh and flat and doesn't make for great pictures. So your first tip is really, if you're headed out into the woods, out on a walk, out down the street, the time of day has a huge impact on the quality of light and then the quality of your photos. That isn't to say that at high noon you couldn't get a good photo, but it becomes more difficult. And you usually don't want to make things more difficult for you. Now, you can't see, you're looking at me. We're going to change that in just a second, but I want you to know that all around me, down at my feet, are these kind of baby ferns that are coming up through the ground. I could stand here and I could fire picture off one after the another, but it's not going to be a good picture. They're all going to be from this height up here, and it's a very boring, very typical look that a lot of people just use. Oh, something pretty, click. If your subject is below you or above you, in most cases you want to get to that level. So you want to get down. This is especially true of kids, pets. Get down to their level, their eye level, not your eye level, and your pictures are going to improve. So let's take a look. I'm shooting with just the T5i and the kit lens, because that's what many of you are starting off with. And let's take a look at how I would approach shooting some baby ferns. Alright, so here's where I was standing, and you're a little farther away right now. I'll bring you in closer in just a minute, and we have some baby ferns right here. First thing you want to do whenever you're taking pictures of especially smaller stuff out in nature like this is make sure you're not stomping on anything. It's really not appropriate to come out into nature and start stomping on stuff. I've taken the lens cap off, I've put it in the bag, and I'm in manual mode. I'm shooting in manual mode, and right away I know it's a bright sunny day, so I'm going to check my ISO and bring that down to 100. And then I'm just going to kind of half press the shutter and see where I am on the meter. And right now I'm sitting right about the middle, and that's at 1/60th and 3.5 aperture. So I'm going to turn live view on, because this is one of those places where we're really low to the ground and we can't see through the viewfinder very well. So live view can be very helpful sometimes, especially live view with a flip out screen. And so I'm going to go for a portrait shot first, and I'm just kind of looking and checking. I have autofocus on. I am using back button focus, and you know, it's having a little bit of trouble because these fiddlehead ferns are a little on the small side. Why don't I bring you closer now so you can see what I'm doing? Alright, so I've brought you in closer now, and as I said, I've got live view turned on. I'm in, I have back button autofocus turned on, which is really nice because I could take a picture right now and it is not going to focus, because I only is going to focus if I'm pressing that back button. And I can press that, and you can see that it thinks it has focus, and maybe it does. I really like this one fern that's lost some of its fuzziness here, but I want to make sure that, you know, focus in this case is critical. So I'm going to touch that spot, and I'm going to touch the magnifying glass and touch it again to zoom in. And I could touch on the screen, or over on the side I can use the control pad. And because I'm using the T5i with that new 18 to 55 STM lens, I have full-time manual focus. And so right now I'm just rotating the focus ring on the camera, and you can see, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in one more time. You can zoom in up to 10x, and you can see that you really can check and see if you have that focus or not. And it actually looks like it was off just a tiny bit. I like that right now. So I'm going to hit that magnifying glass to zoom out, check my composition, and I'm not terribly happy with the composition, but because this is mostly a demonstration and I need to have this on a little tripod and showing this while I'm holding something to keep the glare down on the screen, I am okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this shot. And again, when I take that shot, because I have back button focusing on, it doesn't try to refocus in what it thinks is the best focus. Let's change the composition just a little bit. I'm just going to move it, maybe put those on the right hand side. And now let's just practice here. Same thing. You touch where you want. So I'm going to touch right here. And then I'm going to touch the magnifying glass. Touch it again to zoom in. And again, and let's ask it to focus by pressing that back button focus. So you can see that it's done quite a nice job, but maybe if I wanted to adjust it just a little bit more, I could see that. And then I'm happy with the way that looks. I can zoom back out and take the shot. Let's take a look at this now using the 40, where you can get a shallower depth of field, because right now we are shooting at the lowest aperture or the widest aperture possible for this kit lens. So I'm going to take that lens off and I'm going to put on the 40 Pancake, the 40 f2.8, and you can immediately see that my aperture has now changed and I can shoot at f2.8. See, let's get that in there. Alright, so let's turn live view back on. And we can see that we have a much tighter view now. And we're also very out of focus. And so I'm going to just start to rotate the focus ring. And there we go. Now, in this case, it looks like my minimum focus distance is I'm right at it. So I'm focused as close as possible. And so I'm actually going to have to back this up a little bit. Okay, so I've backed it up just a little bit. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to touch the Q. And I'm going to touch where I want focus to be. I'm going to manually adjust focus until it looks nice and sharp. Right about there looks good. And then I can zoom back out and make sure my composition is good. I'm happy, and I can take the picture. Now, the 40 is even though I have back button focusing on, it is still working at getting focus there constantly, and that's something you could change in the menu. If you go to menu and you go to which wrench or which one is it on? Let's go to AF method, continuous AF, and I'm going to turn that off because I don't want it to be continuously focusing. I only want it to try to focus when I have the button pressed. Then that is the back button. So again, though, same setting. So I'm looking, don't judge exposure here because I have this monitor brightness turned up a good bit, but it actually looks quite nice. And one of the things that's so nice about these screens on these newer cameras is how bright and crisp they are. So you really can see when you zoom in. Again, let's say we want to focus on this fuzzy guy over here. So we touch on the screen, we touch the magnifying glass to zoom in, and then I'm going to adjust. I could do half press of the button. So and you can see it's having a little bit of trouble, one because I was jiggling a little bit. But again, that one is a little bit closer, and so I didn't move it quite back far enough, and I can't focus as well as I would like there because it's just a little too close. But for the purposes of this demonstration, it is close enough, so I'm going to go ahead and take a picture. So that might have been a little bit on the simple side, but I hope you learned something out of that. Let's just review really quickly what we did. One, I had the tip of getting down on the level of whatever you're shooting. In this case, these little fern heads, get down right on their level. Two, I really like back button focusing for these cases where if you are delicately focusing, let's call it that, delicately focusing, by half pressing the shutter, it doesn't try to refocus. only refocuses when you press that back button. I have a video about that. I have a description up. I'll put a link down below this video that leads to more information about that. I personally really like that. It might not work for you, but I really like it. And two was, when you're using that live view, use that magnification, touch and then zoom in on that location to really check your focus. It's really nice. You can zoom in at 5 and 10 times zoom levels, and you're good. And then, you know, as you saw, I took several pictures from slightly different. I was a little hampered in composition because I was keeping it all on this little mini tripod and shooting the back of the screen as well. But, you know, take your time. Don't just bend down, shoot one picture, and then walk on if you want a good picture. If you want a good picture, it's going to take more than that. And you're going to have to take a picture, look at it. What works? Is there something distracting in the background? Remove it, either by getting closer or changing your aperture. And you saw, well, I'll throw up some samples here of what this looked like when shot at aperture 3.5 and what it looked like when shot at aperture 2.8 with a 40 millimeter. So all of those things obviously are going to affect the way your image looks. All right. So again, hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about anything that I just covered in here, just leave a comment down below, or even better, come over and find me on the Facebook page. I am happy to answer questions. And I thank so much for watching. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I've got lots more videos coming. Thank you.